So, how can we increase exposure and get off the anxiety avoidance roller coaster? First, we need to understand what's going on in your body when you experience stress or anxiety. A big part of anxiety has to do with our physiological response to stressors. Some of you may have heard of the fight, flight, or freeze response. That's what we're talking about here. Essentially, the most primitive part of our brain, our amygdala, has an evolutionary basis in protecting us from danger. And that's a really good thing. Our amygdala is our body's anxiety switch. When we as early humans were living in the wilderness and needed protection from danger, such as animals and other predators, this part of our brain adapted and switched on to help us either fight the predator or flee from the situation. Fighting and fleeing, aka avoidance, were our brain's adaptive responses to danger. Researchers later acknowledged that in addition to fighting or fleeing, we may also respond by freezing when we perceive danger. It's not as commonly discussed, but it's also an adaptive response. The freeze response is more of an automatic shutdown in functioning, like a deer caught in the headlights. Let's think about this. If you were hiking, confronted by a dangerous animal, and the amygdala, the anxiety switch, switched on, think about what would be happening in your body. Take a look at the symptoms listed here. You might consider making a note of the ones that you have experienced. I'll give you a moment to do so. These are the fight or flight responses triggered by our amygdala. These responses saved us from danger as early humans, and they save us from danger today. So they're very helpful and adaptive when it comes to life-threatening situations. But typically, the threats that we face today, the ones that trigger these physiological responses, are not life-threatening, right? When was the last time you had to escape from a dangerous animal? For most of us today, common anxiety-provoking threats or situations might include things like taking tests or interacting with others in social situations, perhaps going on a date or meeting new people. So the threats are different, but our brains react just like they did when we were early humans dealing with life-threatening situations. The fight, flight, or freeze system is getting mistriggered because our brains are not distinguishing between life-threatening and non-life-threatening stressors. It's like a false alarm that's constantly going off. Our amygdala gets stuck in the on mode, so we run away from, or we fight danger all day long, and we tire ourselves out. Further, the amygdala learns that this level of arousal and anxiety, this constant on mode, is the new norm. And it adapts and adopts this new elevated level of anxiety for your body. This may be why you feel anxious all the time. So the fight, flight, or freeze response triggered by the amygdala contributes to physiological symptoms of anxiety. These physiological symptoms are one of the uncomfortable things that we avoid when we avoid anxiety-provoking situations. But they're only one component of the greater picture of anxiety. Let's get a fuller picture in the next video.